Hello, I'm Rob Clementi, the Chief Executive of 10, the Education Network, and I'm here with Steve Grant from Merthyr Law in Brisbane, who is presenting a webinar for us on the subject of interim distributions and estate planning when beneficiaries want their money out now. Steve's webinar is on the 11th of February 2025, and this particular session will give us an insight into some of the issues behind the subject. Now, Steve, you very kindly agreed to provide us with a case study here, and I'm going to read out the facts of this case study and then ask you to comment on it. Let's imagine that you're the executive of a deceased estate for Eleanor Rich, a widow who's survived by her two daughters and several grandchildren, all of whom attended private schools. Sorry, all of whom who do attend private schools. The estate consists of approximately $500,000 in cash, Eleanor's home, and a vacation unit on the Gold Coast. You've obtained probate, but you have just put the two properties on the market. All debts of the estate have been paid, except for Eleanor's income tax and liabilities relating to the sale of the two properties. Jill and Georgia, Eleanor's two daughters and sole beneficiaries, have begun sending you menacing emails demanding their money to pay for a family vacation overseas. What do you do?
Well, it's a very common situation now, Rob, where beneficiaries have this expectation that the funds will be available as immediately that settlement has occurred. And as you know, there's lots of things that need to be done in terms of administration to finalise the estate, particularly in these situations where, they've appointed an independent lawyer, myself, to be the executor rather than one of the children. In that particular case study, Mum appointed the lawyer because the two girls wouldn't agree. So the menacing emails have been coming from each of them from both directions. And in terms of my job, is obviously to go through those duties as an executor. The funeral's occurred, I've done my balance sheet, I've listed out the liabilities, and now I'm wanting to finalise that estate as quickly as I possibly can. Now, Succession Act in the different jurisdictions throughout Australia requires you to administer the estate in a reasonable timeframe. And that extends not only to the finalisation of the estate, but recently in a Queensland case, they've said that extends to interim distributions. So if you have an estate like this one, which is going to have some serious cash on the completion of the sale of these properties, it already has cash in the bank account, then you need to be doing at an early stage a bit of a balance sheet, if you like, to see what free cash there is. Now, if we take the situation where the deceased was a pensioner or had limited income from the second property, you can see from their most recent tax returns what the likely income tax liability is. You can have your accountants or taxation advisors let you know what the likely CGT liability on the second property is, assuming the other properties are home and it's going to be main residence exempt. But you can see that there's likely to be substantial funds available for distribution. So these menacing emails, I've got to be making a bit of a calculation and anticipating an interim distribution. And the courts are saying if there's no barrier to that, there's no hurdle, there's no liability or some contingency, then that's exactly what I should be doing. So even though it might take some time afterwards to finalise those tax returns, get them lodged, get the assessments done, get the clearances back, the bulk of the estate might have been advanced to these beneficiaries at that point. And as I say, this case study is very close to practice. Almost every estate I get where I'm an executor, unfortunately, there's pressure on to make distributions as soon as possible.
Steve, thank you very much. And we're going to look forward to hearing more of that subject when you present your webinar in February. And just to remind everybody, the webinar is called Interim Distributions on Estate Planning when Beneficiaries Want Their Money Now. And Steve will present that on the 11th of February. If you'd like to enrol in that webinar, it's a simple exercise. Go to our website, tved.net.au. You'll find the webinar on the webinars tab and you can register online. And once again, Steve, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I look forward, if you're attending, to hearing your stories about our baby boomer beneficiaries and the pressure they put on you.